if life is okay, but you're settling, get freaking disturbed again. Picture yourself at the end of your life realizing you played small, you missed it, it's over, it's done, and you got regrets. Get disturbed with your own inaction, whatever it takes. If it's the bigger dream, great, but if it's running away from the dark side, use it, because once the rocket gets off the ground, it's a lot easier to go fast.
Everyone's looking for that secret sauce. How do you turn a dream into reality? How do you turn childhood pain into real progress that becomes fuel for you to stay in the fight? Because none of it's going to be easy. Where the story starts is not where the story ends. But oftentimes the most false starts in life, people that walk through hell, that start in the worst circumstances, they have the most inspiring stories along the way because they come from the most unlikely of places. And it's usually that unique fuel that I think is so interesting to sort of analyze. Everyone taps into it differently, but all the greatest people that I've ever met, they go to this place and they don't always reveal it. You're such a positive person, but I know there's more. There's something in there.
There's a dark side in there, and I still go to it sometimes. I use it like that little nitrous oxide boost. If you hit the nitrous oxide button, the car goes super fast for a short period of time. But if you just held the button down, the car would burn up. The motor would blow. So you just use these moments to go, I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling like a procrastinator. I'm a little scared. I'm a little uncertain. Hit the freaking button. Right? Blast through the uncertainty, blast through the procrastination, then you can move forward.
Anyway, I think for our audience, most of them probably know who you are. We got an intelligent audience. And so Dean Graziosi here, author, investor, entrepreneur, trainer to the stars. Dean has started and played a major role in over 14 successful companies and changed lives all around the world, including yours truly. Dean's mission for over 25 years has been to deliver self-education to those seeking transformation, fulfillment, and success outside the traditional educational path. Dean and the OG Tony Robbins have had the largest online product launch in history with a program they co-created called Project Next. I was there, reaching over 50,000 people in 150 plus countries. And in 2021, Dean and Tony hosted the largest online challenge in history with nearly 1 million registrants for the Own Your Future Challenge. And recently, Dean, I think it was probably the most successful celebrity course launch ever with Matthew McConaughey called Road Trip. Almost every single person I know actually attended that. And Dean, let's just not forget, Dean has raised millions of dollars for countless different charity organizations. Dean founded Operation Free Home in 2007, a program that provides people in need with a home to live in free for 1 year to help them get back on their feet. And in just the last few years, Dean has donated over 8 million meals to Feeding America to help feed families in need. Dean has built countless schools in Africa and has even recently donated $500,000 to liberate children from human trafficking and sexual exploitation. Dean, I can't say enough about you, man. That was a lot of accolades there and a lot of...
Yeah, that was a lot. That guy sounds pretty cool, man. We should interview him.
We should interview him. Yeah, a lot there. There's a lot there. You said something, Dean, that I kind of wanted to start with. I wrote a few notes here. And from a person like you and a person like me, I think it's guys like you that really paved the way. And so to get near you is really inspirational for a lot of these younger generational people coming up. And you said something that really... you sort of changed my perspective, even what I'm doing, the way you framed it. And you said that, Eric, we get to be in the business of changing lives. What a cool business to be part of. And even that simple framework, it really put a lot of clarity to why I put so much heart and passion myself to stepping into the light, and which for me is something that's incredibly uncomfortable. So I thank you for that. But it is,
you're welcome.
It is amazing to see someone like you and everything that you've achieved sort of to get near that energy. But I know it didn't always start this way. So kind of where I'd love to start is just the Dean before the Dean that we all see today. What was that Dean like?
Yeah, well, appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure getting to know you. You know, I just met you for the first time 2 weeks ago. And since then we've had 2 great dinners together and I've gotten to know you. I was lucky enough to sit across from you, so we got to spend some extra time. And it's incredible to see what you're doing and the impact you're making. You know, there's a lot of ways with the right grit, with the right focus, with having the ability to, use your past as the wind behind your sail, not the anchor that holds you down, right? To look through the lens of opportunity, not obstacles, to look through the lens of what we have rather than what we lost. All simple stuff that you live by, whether you practice it every day, Eric, or it's just subconscious, you wouldn't have the success you have without that. And the reason I shared that is because I got to spend time with you. You would be successful in anything that you do. you have those ingredients. I've been around enough successful people. I'm 55. I started my own business of cutting firewood at 16 years old. That's where I started. And you just see common patterns of people who achieve. And the reason I said that to you is because if you can achieve in any area, you can have success in any area, how cool is it to make at least part of what you do something that impacts others, that allows you to change lives, to give people a path, a spark? I feel beyond blessed. Thank you for the kind words. It was amazing. We had that first dinner. So many people came up to me and go, 1999, you did this to me, or this book you wrote in 2005, or no, in 2020. And it was so amazing. But the fact of the matter is I didn't change their entire life. I was able to provide something that sparked a shift, something that made people disturbed with leaving their life the way it was. And I take that so serious. Like, of course, I love to give people an entire journey, but if I'm just enough, and today I know you have a lot of options and you could be in a million places. You're here with us. I don't take that lightly. Neither does Eric, especially it's me spending time with him. We're going to shut off the distractions. We're going to have some good stuff today. But the only reason I shared that is because I'll give you my story really quick. The dean before this dean, and thank you for those beautiful accolades. A lot of those are older. I think I'm at 30 million meals at Feeding America and all these other cool things.
Amazing.
But I really do believe, and I want everybody to hear this, no matter what success you have, what success you want, whether it's, fighting to get financial freedom, fighting to have time, control of your time, control of your calendar, all those pieces. I'm going to encourage all of you to someday realize that your life experience shared with others, a skill, a career, a personal experience, a passion, impacts others and changes lives. And I would just encourage everybody to someday do what Eric's doing now, do what I've done. It should be added onto any business that you have. It should be a dream someday. If it's writing a book, creating a course, doing a high-level mastermind, building a community, you have something that could shorten the distance from other people to go from where they are to where they want to be. Tony's best words that I heard from him 27 years ago, my partner, Tony Robbins, and dear friend, he said, I get to be in the business of condensing decades into days. And I was like, damn, I want to be in that business, right? I want to be in that business. It took me 10 years to figure this out. I can give it to you in a couple of days. Anyway, thanks for sharing that. But I really, I'm in a phase of my life, Eric, and I know you probably could be too, and you are, is I don't have to do another thing. And I'm working harder than I've ever worked because I'm addicted to the shifts we can make in others. And I know you feel the same way. The dean before this guy, I'll go really quick on this because I want to get to you guys. And I promise if I share a little bit of this, I want you to see yourself in this journey. Because the fact of the matter is, Eric, no matter your listeners right now, no matter where they are, the success they've achieved, they're killing it in areas, wishing to, on their way to killing it in other areas. But the fact of the matter is they're listening to you, Eric. They're with us today. We definitely have one thing in common. There's another level of life. That's just it. Like growth is one of the foundational things that keep us alive, that keep us awake, keep us jumping out of bed in the morning, is to know that we could be a better version tomorrow than we were yesterday, right? Not a culture of comparison or a culture of significance, more of a culture of progress. I mean, I think the only time you feel dead in life is when you're not growing. Yeah, totally. If you wake up, even if you go through hell and back, if you wake up and so I learned something, I'm better, you feel alive. So I think a culture of progress is so crucial. So long story short, as a kid, we all have our own story and our own journey. For me, I watched my parents get married and divorced a lot, 9 times between them. They didn't do well financially. And if I really analyze this as an adult, I don't want to get too deep on it, but the fact of the matter is I watched my parents never be in control. They didn't have money, so they weren't in control of their time. And therefore, they didn't do well in relationships, obviously, so they weren't in control of that. And the byproduct was that I could have a new step-grandfather, Leo Rizzo. Awesome guy, taught me to fish, taught me to hunt, all this cool stuff. Come home from school one day, your parents get a divorce, no more Leo Rizzo. He's not your grandfather anymore, right? And that happened multiple times. And for me, the trigger was, I'm not in control of my decisions, but neither are my parents. And if I look back, I really just fought to be in control, Eric. I felt so out of control as a kid that I thought if I get successful, nobody's going to tell me where to live, when to move, how to dress, how to raise my children. it's evolved all the way to now. I love being a dad. I make my kids lunch every day. I take them to school every day. I took my son to school, 40-minute ride. I took my son to school in the morning because that conversation on the way to school. I need to be in control of those decisions just like you are. But I realized that at a young age. And I started in high school cutting firewood. Then I used to buy wrecked cars and fix them up and sell them. Then by 21, I had Dean Collision Center. I had a couple of tow trucks. Then I started buying rundown apartment houses and flipping them. Then I started buying raw land and building houses and flipping them. And then I got to a phase, and I know you must have experienced this, Eric. And I'm guessing some of the people here have. I was so much further along than I ever would have imagined. I didn't go to college. I had a little dyslexia. I didn't come from money. And for me to be in a place where I had Dean Collision Center and apartments and building houses, it looked like from the outside I had made it. And I really did. I'm not knocking that at all. But man, I had this burning desire. I knew there was something more waiting for me. I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't ungrateful for what I achieved. Please don't feel that. And I'm not knocking anybody that loves fixing cars or building houses. I had none of that. I just had this thing inside of me like, damn, there's something else more. What is it? And for me, I was lucky enough to buy a Tony Robbins course in 1997, I think. And it fundamentally shifted me in two ways. And then I'll get to whatever questions you have. You know your audience well. I want to serve in this time we have together. But I just want to share this one part. I get Tony's course. I devour it from start to finish. I had never read a book on personal development. I had never listened to anything. I had never been to a live event. But man, that guy spoke to me. Things like life happens for us, not to us. That we have limiting beliefs holding us back and we could shift them to limiting beliefs, limitless beliefs. And all these fundamental Tony Robbins teaching that he learned from Jim Rohn and all these other great teachers. And it shifted my thinking. Like, I'm not crazy. I don't care I was broke. I don't care I have a college degree. I can do anything, right? So that was, I give Tony kudos. I still thank him for that. But the second thing it did for me and how you started this whole conversation was that dude learned stuff from Jim Rohn and all his teachers and all the books he read and all his life experience. He sold me information. It wasn't a product. It was information. It shifted my life and he got to get paid for that. And literally within 6 months of buying his course, Eric, I decided I'm going in this business. And of course, there was self-doubt. I'm not Tony Robbins. He's 6'7", I'm 5'7", on a good day. You know what I mean? He had notoriety. People loved him. I was working in a collision shop. But I knew this was the thing. I was meant for more. This was my thing. And it didn't happen overnight. And I had to figure out the business on my own and got an infomercial because it was before the internet. I started getting momentum, and since then, I've been blessed to, be in this industry every day of my life for almost 28 years. My brands have done over $1 billion. I get to partner with Tony and meet all these amazing people. And life, I have maybe the greatest gift I have because I love being a husband and I love being a dad. I get to have life work integration, not life work balance.
Sure.
Like, I love what I do so much that I don't know where work ends and life begins. And then life ends and work begins. It's all one. And I think if I had any wish for every single person listening or watching right now, is someday when you don't know where the work ends and life begins, that's harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Dean. Well, number one, that was amazing to sort of hear your perspective on even your journey through the lens of how you tell your story. But you're right. This whole idea of work-life balance, like it's elusive to people that are in their purpose and in their passion. And it's so much of what I was sort of indoctrinated to think even within the confines of my own family structure growing up. So I resonate with that because I don't know where it starts, where it ends either. And I do find more fulfillment now in what I'm doing than ever. But I think it's because of people like you. When you kind of get near people that are in their purpose, there's a really unique, almost like osmosis. You absorb their energy. They give you such a beautiful sense of self-belief to that it's okay to dream. It's okay to really pursue that. And I think a lot of people stop dreaming, or maybe they just don't believe it anymore. But I love children. Children are something a lot of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now to kind of connect some dots here is for innocence. I've always been scared of the camera. I've always been scared of the light. And it was my personal mentor, Ed Milet, that really challenged me to use my heart and use my voice and step out into the light. And as I really pursued that with vengeance and I just decided to go all in on it, it has really exposed me to so many things I never thought I'd find. And it was where my purpose is. But a lot of the mission behind me is really understanding that the next generation is really up against a lot. these children in the world, from my perspective, are up against a lot. So it's these beacons of light that are in their purpose, that are like fulfilling their dreams, that are really incredible to see. But how you connected the dots early in your career to what you're doing now, I think that's what a lot of people want to know. Everyone's looking for that secret sauce. You know, how do you turn a dream into reality? How do you turn childhood pain into real progress that becomes fuel for you to stay in the fight? And because none of it's going to be easy. These are all things that we try to pull out of people we admire. It's the heroes of our lives. So you're that to many people, including me. Where do you find deep down in your soul, maybe when you didn't have the self-belief that you do today, where did you find sort of that courage to keep going?
Yeah, great question, Eric. And I'm so glad you made that transition. And Ed's a dear friend of mine. I love the man. He's such a good dude. He's just as good a dude when the camera's off as when he's on. You know, I would love to say that all of it came from a beautiful place. And I think some people evolve to that. And I just like to be real, and I'm not knocking anybody else, but I think as success becomes more and more in your life, and when I say success, it's just not economics, it's life, it's balance, it's fulfillment, it's joy, it's being okay in your own skin, letting go of your past, forgiving your family or forgiving parents or forgiving an ex, I don't know, whatever success would look like to you. In this journey, sometimes it's easy to say, you know, I just had a dream and there was nothing I was going to do until I give up. I failed. I learned. I got up. I went back at it. I failed. I learned. I got up. And that's partially true. But I think if we really sit and reflect, sometimes you got to go to the dark side. Sometimes you have to focus on what if you leave it the way it is. If I really look at my beginning, Eric, and I don't know if I've ever shared this live, I just didn't want to be my dad. My dad worked his ass off. He's a good man. My dad was the youngest of 12 kids. He was physically abused and sexually abused, which he talks about. You know, he'd be fine with me sharing that.
Sure. Wow.
And he was always angry, like just internally angry. Never hit me. He was physically abused. His dad knocked his teeth out when he was 8 years old. I mean, that's how bad he was abused. My grandmother was blind in one eye from my grandfather hitting her with a bat in the face. Like that's what my dad witnessed growing up, right? So I can't even imagine. I'm not going to pretend. And my father alienated everyone around him. His brothers and sisters never talked to him. My mom was married to him for 3 years. She hasn't talked to him in 50 years. My sister, who's 4 years older than me, doesn't talk to my dad. I see my dad every week and I love him dearly and I've forgiven him at the core of me because of what the man went through, and he's a beautiful soul now. But the fact of the matter is that's now. If I really go back, I watched a man who didn't have friends, who worked his ass off on cars to make $20,000, $30,000 a year. When I moved in with him, I had to go to school someday without lunch money and tell my friends I wasn't hungry, or he'd hand me nickels and pennies. I'm like, I'm not putting a pile of pennies to pay for my $1 lunch. And I just remember thinking, if I don't do something different, I'm going to be him. I'm going to be married and divorced multiple times. I'm going to have people in my family who don't love me. And the truth is, maybe a therapist would say it was wrong, Eric. I focused on two things. I am not going to be my dad. I'm going to be in control of my decisions. I'm going to be a better human. I'm going to make more money. And secondly, I wanted to retire my mom because when he left, he didn't support my mom. She worked 3 jobs to make nothing, right? She'd come home 9 o'clock at night after cutting hair and cleaning houses and painting houses. And I'm like, I'm retiring her and I'm not going to be him. So I never said, I'd love to share, I set goals.
Yeah, sure.
But the truth is, when shit went sideways, excuse my language, when things didn't work, Eric, I said, if I don't make this work, if I don't find a way, that is my destiny. Yeah. And I'm not allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
And you know what? Once you get momentum, then you have glimpses of both. You don't want to live in the dark side, but sometimes you need the nitrous oxide boost. You need the rocket fuel. So I'd say whatever rocket fuel you need, whatever nitrous boost you need. And at this phase of my life, of course, foundationally, I want to stay in control. It would seem like death to me. And I know the same for you, man. If someone said, hey, sorry, Eric, this is your new agenda. You got to be here at this certain time. Like if someone said, hey, you can't go to tomorrow morning, my son's going to a tennis match. at 9 a.m. If someone said, oh, sorry, you can't go to the tennis match. We got stuff to finish. You can't make it. I'd die first. I would crawl through broken glass. I would chew through a brick wall. There's nobody going to tell me I can't be with my son or do that. And some people are living that. So what I'd say is if life is okay, but you're settling, get freaking disturbed again. Get uneasy. Picture yourself at the end of your life realizing you played small, you missed it, it's over, it's done, and you got regrets. Like, get some pain, get disturbed with your own inaction, whatever it takes. If it's the bigger dream, great. But if it's running away from the dark side, use it. Because once the rocket gets off the ground, it's a lot easier to go fast.
Yeah, this is so good. This is where I'm trying to get. It takes me a minute to kind of get warmed up, but you're starting to pump me up right now because for for so many out there, where the story starts is not where the story ends. But oftentimes the most false starts in life, people that walk through hell, that start in the worst circumstances, they have the most inspiring stories along the way because they come from the most unlikely of places. And it's usually that unique fuel that I think is so interesting to sort of analyze. Everyone taps into it differently, but all the greatest people that I've ever met, including you, they go to this place and they don't always reveal it. You're such a positive person. When I'm around you, you're infectious with your positivity. But I know there's more. There's something in there. There's a Dean in there. There's a little boy.
Oh no, there's a dark side. There's a dark side in there, and I still go to it sometimes. Sure. And again, I'd use it like that little nitrous oxide boost. If you just took nitrous oxide in a car, for those of you that aren't like car junkies, I grew up around cars. If you hit the nitrous oxide button, the car goes super fast for a short period of time. But if you just held the button down, the car would burn up.
Sure.
The motor would blow.
Sure.
So you just use these moments to go, I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling like a procrastinator. I'm a little scared. I'm a little uncertain. Hit the freaking button. Yeah. Right. Blast through the uncertainty, blast through the procrastination, and then you can move forward.
Yeah, it's amazing. So this is where the real gold's at. It's funny. I do so much one-on-one work now, and it's all passion led. Almost everything I do is for charity on this side of business. But I enjoy it and I'm getting better at it and I'm more effective. One of the things I've learned, I don't know where I picked this up. It's probably a collection of different people that I've sort of with my own style, but I realize there's a little boy or a little girl that exists inside every single person. And if you can get to that little boy or that little girl, you can really effectively help them because so many of those children are unhealed. They haven't fixed sort of the problems and the pain they've been through. And in many cases, even people that have won big, they still have a little boy or in there that is all alone. No one's ever talked to that little boy. And I just think this is such an interesting conversation because it exists within everyone. And they hold sort of the best memories you've ever had, the best smells you've ever had, the best experiences, the best feelings, and they also hold the worst. And I think you could do better work with people like if you just understand psychologically how all people tick. And that is a place that I just try to get with people. And I've learned a lot through this process of just listening and asking the right questions and trying to figure out where is a pain point that becomes like hyper valuable for someone's momentum that we're all trying to seek because everyone wants to get somewhere. We all have this idea of where we want to get and we're all going to die. And that is something that even though it seems a little grim, I've really systematized it in my life to try to do things that really matter. And I guess for me, it's swept all the noise off the table, all the chaos. And it really allows me to focus almost on exactly what matters most, what I'm doing. It allows me to play the game I want to play. And I don't know where this gift came from, but a lot of this is sort of this stoic nature about trying to shut off the noise and really just become a person of value. That's what I see in you. And so again, it's really kind of cool to hear the backstory of where you're at. Let me start asking you some questions if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Just things that kind of popped up in my mind that are interesting. You mentioned sort of this pain that you experienced as a child, and I'm always curious the relationships and how they developed over time, even within the confines of my own family. Like I question this myself, but as I evolve, but your relationship with your dad, how did that evolve?
So, couple of ways. So I gotta, I can't wait to share anything I can to help serve people today, starting a business, scaling a business, marketing, the event Tony and I are doing, all those things. But I feel called to share something with you that I think might help everyone, especially men that are listening right now. We tuck stuff away. We're there to put on a good face. When we're sad that we're missing our kids or we're sad that something happened, you're never going to hear it from us in most cases. And I'm not saying we're strong. Sometimes we're silly. Women have a way to communicate, to share, to show their emotions, to talk through it. And a lot of times we just tuck it in, and it becomes a monster growing on the inside if we don't. So I want to share something with you. I went through a divorce about a decade ago. Not proud of it, not an advocate of divorce, but it was something inevitable. And it hit me so hard, Eric. And the reason I'm sharing this for a reason, and it'll make sense. I'll tie it all together. Okay. It hit me so hard where I started having anxiety attacks and panic attacks. I've never had an anxiety attack. Like, couldn't breathe, was afraid to get on my plane. I felt it like everything. I didn't want to get in an elevator. I was freaking out. I'm in my 40s. I'm like, oh my God, I snapped. Like, what happened to me? And when I really dug into it, my ex and I knew for years that we were drifting apart, and we had conversations like, and we just knew it. But it made me freak out because when I was a kid, my parents' divorce was so tumultuous that there was a time we were hiding from my dad. We were going from campground to campground in a little motorhome, hiding from my dad. And I'll just share this publicly. And he's a completely different person now. Sure. But he said he was going to kill all of us. And we took it seriously. The police didn't know what to do. So we just hid out for months. So you could think of divorce to me wasn't two parents splitting. Oh, and I miss my dad. Divorce to me was somebody could die, right? Like, my dad would take a bat and knock the windows out of our house, knock the windows out of my mom's car, stalk her. It was a crazy time. Sure. So I tucked all that away. So this is what I want to share, men and women, but I want to share what I did is I tucked all that away. This is you all have these metaphors. I tucked it away in this box on the inside of my life. And I just kept pushing in, and I put a lock on it and said, go get successful. No one will ever tell you what to do.
Yes. Feel that.
No one will ever guide you. You don't have to listen to your parents. You can retire your mom, retire your dad. You will be in control.
That's it.
And that's what I did. 27, I retired my mom. 29, I retired my dad. I send them both checks every week. My dad's 88 years old. I sent him a check every week since I was 30. Same with my mom. So I tuck all that down and I go on with life. Yep. I go through a divorce. Now I start having these anxiety attacks because I am associated that my kids, this is totally what it was. I'm associating that my kids are going to experience the same trauma I did. At 12 years old, I moved in with my dad, 11 years old. He had me so freaked out that I started throwing up blood. I got a bleeding ulcer, and I wouldn't tell him because I was afraid he'd get mad at my mom because she left him. If your mom didn't leave me, we'd be together. I wouldn't be screaming at you. You wouldn't have a bleeding ulcer. So I wouldn't tell him. I told my grandmother, she takes me to the doctors. I'm guzzling Pepto-Bismol and Metamucil at 12 because my gut's bleeding. Now, I don't share that stuff publicly, and I don't say, poor me. Sure. I'm sharing it because I go through a divorce, and you know what happened? The freaking box opened up, and I couldn't get the freaking lid back on it, man. All that stuff came pouring into my life. I literally thought I was coming unglued, Eric. In my 40s, I had all this success. I had everything going on. People are admiring me. Multiple New York Times bestselling author. Tony Robbins is my best friend in the world. Talk to him every day of my life, and I am literally coming unglued. I fly out and see Dr. Amen, who's a dear friend of mine. I spent time with Tony. I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I get to be in communication with all these great people. And the reason I'm sharing this, because you triggered me today, I sit with Dr. Amen. We go through this whole process. He's a dear friend, and he takes me on this journey and takes me all the way back until I was 8 years old, when I used to come home from school and grab a fishing pole, and I would go to this little stream and I would fish by myself because it was quiet, man. There was no craziness. There was no noise. I loved fishing. I remember the exact spot. This guy makes me picture that spot. He has me picture myself in my outfit. I had a jean pants, and I remember this jean jacket I loved. He's got me sitting down in this stream while I'm fishing. And maybe this is too much for everybody, but I want to tell you, we all go through it. Because you see somebody at this pinnacle. Yes, I get to do all these cool things, but I'm going through this. I'm sitting. He makes me, my adult self, visualize me sitting next to my 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old self and have a conversation. And the main thing I remember from it is because I was in a state, and I feel it's not to bore everybody, but the main thing I remember saying to that 8-year-old is, guess what? We're good. Yeah. We're freaking solid. We've created an amazing business. Your mom's good. Your dad's good. You became good. You can impact others. Sure. You can learn. I got goosebumps. And I hugged this little version of me in my mind. I said, we're good. I'm not kidding you. the anxiety, everything stopped.
There it
the
is.
box opened up, but I was okay with the box opening up.
Yeah.
And it was a great journey because it allowed me to be a better version of me.
Sure.
I probably wasn't the best husband in my first marriage. I probably did have a case around my heart because I watched so much pain in love. How could I actually allow love? Because it could be painful.
Sure.
And being friends with my ex, that was another one. Those two things allowed me to let go of that, to move past it, where I could say, this is how I'll be in my next relationship. And I'm married to the love of my life. We have 2 more kids.
Yeah.
I'm dear friends with my ex. All 4 of my kids are thriving. And the only reason I shared that, because whether it's business that didn't work out, life, relationships, a friend, sometimes those things can be the anchor holding us back.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just got to face the storm.
Yeah.
You know, when that box opened up, it was like the ship was in the middle of a storm and I had to fight it. But on the other side of that storm, on the other side of what you're afraid of, on the other side of complexity, that's where your next level of life is.
That's freedom.
And I don't think God or the universe, whatever your beliefs are, I don't think you're allowed to go to the next level of life until you face the crap you're afraid of, until you face the crap you're avoiding. Like it's just part of the success tax that we all have to pay.
Sure.
And that was a big one. So anyway, you sparked that by talking about the boy inside of all of us.
You know what? I thought if I could have one moment with Dean that was like that, this would have been a home run, and you just nailed it, because I think there's probably more value in that little story right there, because if there's so many people right now that are hurting, there's so much fast work that can be done in a really, if you just analyze this. And I was going to ask you what somewhere along the line, I put all kinds of questions, but what success is to you. And somehow I think you sort of answered it somehow in that story, what real success actually looks like. So many of the guys that I think have a lot of money, they're doing really well, they're kind of miserable. They're not really free. They've not really tapped into this thing that I think somehow you just kind of described. I think people get what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I'll tell you though, real quick, just to anchor it in, you just got to figure out what success really means to you.
Okay.
I mean that, because sometimes we chase money. Sometimes we chase significance. Sometimes we chase top line. I remember wanting to make $1,000 a week.
Yep.
Right. So please know when I say this, it's not about bragging. I hoped someday I could make $1,000 a week.
I feel that.
But I remember when my company was heading towards $100 million a year, I chased $100 million a year like my life was going to change forever. You just got to watch what you're chasing sometimes, because maybe because I'm 55, maybe because I'm in this industry and I'm a part of personal development every single day of my life. I'm not kidding you, Eric. I love the impact I get to make on others. I love serving. It's a passion of mine. But success to me means literally that I don't miss softball, baseball, tennis, or dance, that I take my wife on a date night, that I walk into my house every day and my wife looks at me like we just started dating. My kids run across the room, the littles, certain teenagers don't anymore. The littles run across the room and can't wait to see their dad. And I'm going to do everything in my power to have the decision-making power to keep that.
Yeah.
Right. And that might sound boring to certain people. You know, I'm blessed. I have houses and places that I want all over the country. I got a plane of my dreams that flies me wherever I want to go. I don't show them on social. I don't brag about them. No one has ever seen a picture of my house. No one's ever seen a picture of my plane. No, I don't wear fancy watches. I drive an F-150 Ford truck that I love dearly. But success to me is,
I love it. I do.
I love my family and they love me, and I do the things I need to do to end the craziness.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a nut job and abused my dad. My dad didn't know how to change that. And he's 88 years old right now, 87 or 88 years old, and he's lonely. And I'm glad I get to see him every day. But
Sure.
I'm ending that, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm ending that. And I know you're doing the same thing.
This is it. Yeah. Listen, Dean, there's so much I could say right now. My mind sort of teams as you talk. You hit so many great points for the sake of this conversation, and just know I have insane respect for you. Like, even not flexing I think it's one of the most beautiful things about real people that have real freedom and have real power. They don't flex it. They just give love. They give all this beautiful energy. And Dina's probably one of the best examples out of any person I've ever met. I want to get into some cool questions though, that I think the audience would.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I know got a product coming, but I want to kind of lead up with a few questions. You've done so many cool things in your career. Out of everything you've done so far, what's the favorite thing that you've done? What's the favorite product you launched? Favorite business achievement? Give me something in that realm that you would speak to as what you're most proud of.
I'll tell you the coolest one that I did recently. I love the fact that, you shared some stats. I love the fact we've had 11 big events Tony and I have done that average almost 1 million people. Over 5 years, 11 events average almost 1 million people. So I'm so proud of that on a macro level that we can inspire so many people at once. But I'd say the one that was really fun is I listened to McConaughey's book, Green Lights.
Sure.
Did you listen to the book?
I did. Yeah. It was great.
Tell me you didn't love it.
It was good.
And when I got to the last paragraph, the last sentence, I was like, oh, I don't want it to be over. And I mean, this is the business we're in. We help people create information, knowledge products, courses, workshops, masterminds, right? Take your life experience to become a coach. Like that's what Tony and I do. And now we teach others to do it, right?
Sure.
So I get done listening to McConaughey. I'm like, this is too good. I want this guy's course. I want to create a course with this guy.
Genius.
So I had a mutual friend and I said, do me a favor. I recorded a 7-minute voice memo. I said, would you do me a favor and get this to McConaughey? And I told him, I said, loved your book. Hey man, this is what we do. Tony Robbins and I, maybe you've seen this, maybe not. I said, this might sound like the craziest thing in the world, but that book was so good. And so it deserves to be something bigger. Yeah. I'd love to help you create a next level course and let's do a big event. This is what Tony and I do. About a week later, I get a phone call from a number I didn't expect, and it was McConaughey. And he's like, hey, I got your message. I'm pretty intrigued. So we set up and had these meetings and we talked through it. And man, the guy is he's a 10. He's a home run. He's a real deal. He's an amazing husband, father, moved out of Hollywood to be out of the mess so he could raise his kids the right way. He makes decisions on movies that will empower his family, not take away from his family. Work ethic like crazy. Anyway, we build a relationship. He's like, if I'm going to build a course, no games. So you called it. The course is named Road Trip. He flies down. We spend a week together to almost midnight every night, going over every word, every piece. He's got the same work ethic we do. Amazing. I mean, every night. And then we go have a drink and food at night. And we built this friendship. And we decided to do, this is my core competency. I know how to do big live events to inspire a lot of people. We had 2.5 million people show up day one. Day one, 2.5 million people virtually. Incredible. And it was amazing. We did it right here in the studio I'm in. His course became probably the best-selling course of all time, day one. Amazing. Right? Tens of thousands of people said yes. Tens of thousands of people's lives loved it. And all of that is fun. But I'll tell you the greatest experience. So we get done with the event. It's different. He never had done anything like this. He's an actor and now he's here doing real stuff. And, and the comments are coming in and people are all over. And it was just amazing. Long story short, we're sitting right back here and it's done. And it's like, it's over. Like it's a little stressful. It's live. There's nothing not live. Right. And I said, what do you think? I said, did you like it? He goes, I didn't just like it. He's like, I loved it. I said, why? He said, one of the greatest experiences of my life. And I said, why? He said, because usually I play a character that someone else writes, someone else edits, and someone else directs. He said, you allowed me to play me, and I loved it. That's cool. And I tell you, I still take that to heart. He's a good man. He'll be a friend for life. But that was fun to go from, hey, this book is awesome. Let's do something, to doing the biggest. It's still the biggest, as far as people, it's the biggest virtual event like that in history.
Yeah, you picked the right guy. Did you think he was going to say yes when you real quick? Did you think he was going to say yes when you sent that text? I had a gut feeling. Really? You feel like you get to know him through his book, right? Yeah. And he likes doing different things. And I have to tell you, man, the guy, this is what I've been doing for so many years. He listened. He's like, this is your jam. If we were making a movie, you do what I say. We're doing this. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to say. Yeah. How do I make it live? So anyway, that's probably my latest thing that I'm really proud of. That's such a good one. Yeah. So I was just down with you in Scottsdale and I'm really excited. Actually, I learned a lot just by getting a quick preview of what you and Tony are about to launch here. I think in June, you got a really cool launch coming. Do you mind talking about that or are you okay?
No, not at all.
Yeah. Love to hear
it. So listen, we've been in this industry, Tony and I, collectively 70 plus years. And Tony and I have been friends for about 12 years. And somebody introduced us and I was really honored to meet him. It was a big deal. It's the guy that mentored me. The way you probably feel about Ed is the way I felt about Tony. Yeah. Tony shifted my life. So it was a pleasure. Yep. It was a privilege to meet him and tell him that. But we hit it off. And we ended up going to meet for an hour. We ended up meeting like for 8 hours straight. A week later, I flew down to his house. We spent another 8 hours together. And we built a real friendship. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to be partners with this guy. I'm doing good. He's doing good because everywhere we went, I watched people befriend him and then say, hey, let's do a promotion. Hey, let's partner. And I'm like, I don't want to be another one of those guys. Sure. this guy just shifted my life. I don't need it, so I'm good. But we're friends about 5-6 years, and we're on a golf course. I only play twice a year, and it's with him. We were playing up by you. We were in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, cool. Best
right? We were in Coeur d'Alene. And we're on the golf course, and we said, if we were going to build a business, what would we build? And he talked about his first mentor was Jim Rohn, the old personal development guy, if you don't know him. And he's like, Jim Rohn shifted my life. I said, brother, you shifted mine. What would we have done if someone didn't take the time to document something that could help our lives?
Right.
And I said, we're not going to be here forever. So why don't we create a business and pull back the curtain and show people what we've done? Because now it's way easier. You got this thing in your pocket connected to millions and millions of people. Why don't we create a company and a product to help people sell what they know, to share what they know, to monetize their life experience and their skill, because that's how this world will elevate. This is how we said, this is how we make self-education the new norm. I think we said things like, if people die with knowledge in their head, we want them to feel guilty, right? Yeah. And so we had these conversations and we built a company called Mastermind. And that's what we do. We teach people how to monetize their life experience, how to extract it, how to package it, how to deliver it, how to share it, how to sell without selling, sell through service. And we launched it year one, and it became a movement. It went from 0 to 100, like that. Yeah. And, but right now, and we go live every year, but right now, because of technology, because of where this industry is growing, it's at $1 billion a day, Eric. The e-commerce, e-learning business, not e-commerce, e-learning business and self-education industry is at $1 billion a day, heading towards $1 trillion a year by 2025, like right around the corner, right? So with all the shifts happening, we decided to do an event. And we're calling it The Game Has Changed, because it has changed completely. Yeah. And the reason we're doing this event is because if you own a business and you don't have an information product attached, you're already missing out. Sure. Every business should have an information product. Next year on your P&L, it'll be the best line, the most profitable. You don't have to pay for the inventory. You don't have to store it. You don't have to ship it, but it's the most valuable to other people. And it's the one that could be most profitable. And if you're ready to start your own thing, why wouldn't you start something like when we started this podcast, something that impacts others, something that serves others and simultaneously has no glass ceiling. Sure. Like it's the business to start or scale, or it's the business to add to the current one you have. So over 3 days, we're going to go live and pull back the curtain and show people why this industry, why now. On day one, we're saying the game has changed. Again, unlike anything we've ever done. And I know you have more insight than most because I got to show you, but imagine having AI help you that thinks like Tony and Dean. And we're going to show that on day one to say, this is what I should extract. This is how I should deliver it. Sure. This is who wants it. This is how I name it. This is how I could price it. And then Tony will come on and rock everybody's soul and get rid of their limiting beliefs. So day one, you'll be vibrating saying, oh my God, I need to do this. Day two, that's the part that I love to share. I love to take away the fear and mystery out of finding the right people and selling. Because when you serve, when you create a product that's irresistible and you know where to find people, we've been doing it for 70 plus years between us, you'll never sell a day in your life and this thing could catapult. So day two, if day one, you know what, who, and how. Day two is how to get people to say yes, how to find them. And day three is how to deliver it with excellence and confidence. So that's what we're going to do over 3 days. So if you've ever thought of starting something that can be impactful, purpose-driven, and extremely successful, you should be there. Definitely. If you're unfulfilled in your current career, you should be there. And if you own a business and you want to learn how to add an information product, a digital product, you should be there. So it's June 13th through the 15th, about 3 hours a day. We're calling it The Game Has Changed. Amazing. And it's free. Yeah. We do it once a year free.
I'm definitely going to make sure I bring all my community there because there's so much value. Can I share one thing that you taught me that it was just a little, it was a small angle, but I thought it was super valuable. And actually I've told this story probably 10 times now. But I heard you say this when I was down in Arizona with you, but you said, imagine like a girl that's been cutting hair for 20 years and her specialty is hair extensions. And she's in a salon and there's a common question that's a really important question that she's constantly pouring into with all her experience. And she just puts a lot of time trying to tell her clients how to make their hair extensions last longer. Let's just say that's the question for all intents and purposes that she has a lot of information about. Imagine that person amount of time that she spends putting into curating the message. I know I'm constantly answering the same question over and over and over. And that's my life experience that gives me such value that people are wanting to extract out of me, right? But it takes a lot of my time and it's energy but it's valuable. Imagine even if it's for the efficiency alone. Imagine if at checkout it's $200, Mary. Hey, would you like me to add in a course with that? It's an extra $30, but it's the 7 steps to keep your hair extensions lasting twice as long. It'll save you a ton of money in the long run. Sure, go ahead and throw it in there. That is that one-stop piece of your soul, your heart, your wisdom, your knowledge. Even if you gave it away for free, the amount of time this is the way my brain's thinking. I was like, oh my God, I'm so repetitive. I should have a course for anything that is repetitive, anything that's chaotic, that I need structure to. You could have a library of my greatest assets. Could be a library that is now valuable to give away.
For sure. And you know where that story came from, Eric? I was at dinner with my wife. She owns salons called Hair Extension Bar. Here in Arizona. So we were at dinner with another couple and we're talking business. They're like, oh my God, I'm so intrigued at what you do, Dean. Tell me how it fits into a business. Sure. I said, well, take my wife's business. She does hair extensions. I said, at the end of every hair extension, all the girls that work in her salon say to people, would you like shampoo? And I said to my wife, what's shampoo? $15, you make 2 on it. I said, could you imagine at the end of that checkout, just what you're saying? You said, hey, you got hair extensions. You spent a lot for them. Lisa, our owner, who's been voted the top hairstylist in Arizona the last 10 years in a row, she created a course. It's only 4 modules. You could take it home. How to make your hair extensions last longer, how to make sure your hair is beautiful, how to grow it back, how to make it look younger.
Genius.
Would you like me to add it to your cart for $30? Sure. I said, how much would more people take that than shampoo? Yes. She's like, hands down. Yeah. And then she nudged me. She's like, why didn't you tell me this sooner? Right? I said, and how much are you paying for that knowledge? Zero. Right.
It's already there.
How valuable is it?
Valuable.
Priceless.
Yeah, it is.
And then you could pay your girls $10 each to sell it, not 2 for a bottle of shampoo. So my wife's literally laying that out and letting her girls do it. She's more of a full-time mom now. Sure. But my whole point is that fits, just like you said, if you're a real estate agent, why not create a course that shows why you are a better real estate agent than anybody else? Teach people the things to avoid, the things to look for. Be the expert, right? Yeah. If you're in real estate, if you're in cars, every single business deserves an information product, either as a value builder or additional revenue.
Yeah, or both. They are both.
Or both. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's such a game-changing thought. And when even just every person I've told it to that is killing themselves every day to try to be successful, grow their brand, grow their business, just even a simple thought like that, and you can see the wheels turning. You know what I mean? The whole key is like there's so many different pieces of software in so many different places, and it can get overwhelming trying to figure out how to package it together, put it together perfectly.
And that's why Tony and I are going to share why we created one spot that does all of it. Cool. Right. And it's just, the game has changed. And if you're intrigued, I have a URL here, and I'm sure you'll put this in the notes, but deanandtonylive.com/rock. So deanandtonylive.com/rock. Go and reserve your spot. I would say when you're listening to this, go right now, grab a friend, someone who that should be here right now and they're not. Grab a friend, give them that same URL, have them be your accountability partner and show up. Yes, I promise you will not be disappointed. If it's not for you, you'll know, but I promise you get Tony, myself, and we got some amazing guests coming. It's going to be a special event. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Dean, for doing this. This was, I know we could have got way, way deeper. There's so much substance and value that you bring to the world. We'll have to do this again someday, or we'll have to get you up to Coeur d'Alene in person. I'll be up there soon, man. I can't wait. I'm really grateful for you, man. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. Hey, Dean, real quick, I want to make sure that if anyone wants to know anything more about you, where would you want people to send if they want to do anything with you? Any kind of connection, anything that's valuable, any kind of reach out? I would say go to Instagram is easy because it's the one in your pocket. And if you got a message, you could send it. And the team always sends me DMs that are important. So I'd say at Dean Graziosi on Instagram. And again, not to keep pushing it, but make sure you show up at this event. It's going to be something special. And we only do it once a year. So you'll learn a lot about me in that time as well. Okay. We'll make sure we send them there. And then I'll just throw it in there for you. Mastermind.com. That is your main URL. Yep. Okay. All right, cool. Hey, if you guys enjoyed the show, please like it, share it, spread the good word, and make sure you show up for Dean and Tony's live event. This is going to be a big one. This might be the biggest one ever. So we're shooting for the biggest one ever. This will be cool. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, guys.
I'm a man on a mission.